Greetings, folks. If you're watching this in the future, please leave a like, please subscribe. We are on to day 36 without crashing. I think we're on to day 84 total that I've been doing this streaming series. Getting pretty far. Yesterday I went to Nürburgring for the stream, and I was not feeling very good. I don't know, I only ended up doing like 4 laps, and I was not finding the flow. It was not happening yesterday, so I ended up ending the stream a little bit early, at about 45 minutes or so. Oh, and hopefully I do go a little bit longer today. I do feel pretty tired. I ended up taking about an hour nap at about 6 p.m. or so, just after I had dinner. I had a little bit of a food coma going on. I had some very nice mac and cheese. But I'm a little bit tired. I'm awake as I can be given the circumstances. And in some good news, just before the stream started, I ended up finishing the second section of the Isle of Man mod that I've been working on. This Isle of Man mod here, the full track. Excuse me. This mod is too big for the game. After you get a certain point, a certain distance from the center, the bike starts to shake. And since this track is so huge, the bike shakes for most of the track. So you can't really ride it. So I've been going and editing this mod. I talked to Fixer, and I've been editing it down into different sections that are small enough to ride without any shaking. So this one I did 3 streams with over the last 4 days, and this is Governor's Dip to Sarah's Cottage, and I went through and I learned the turns much better than I used to know them. So I have most of this section of the track sort of down pat. I know it, at least at a slow speed. I know every turn that's coming next at this point, so that's kind of cool. I went and was working on the next section, Sarah's Cottage to Ballaugh Bridge, and finished that just before the stream started today. So this is playable. Obviously there's no picture, it's not in a totally finished state. I'm not going to be able to release it for a little while, but it's playable, so I figured I'd put it onto stream today. And I'm just going to be going very slowly because I don't know the section very well at all, and so I'm just going to be sticking to one lane, left lane, going down and back, down and back, down and back, until I have a very good idea of the corners. I can predict what's coming next for the whole section. And that's probably going to happen over the next 4 or 5 days. Oh, very nice. It's probably going to happen over the next 4 to 5 days. And while during those 5 days, I'm going to be working on the next section. And the next section is going to be Ballaugh Bridge all the way through Solby, through Ramsey, over to Guthrie's Memorial, just after the mountain section starts. And so that will be that section, and then I'll ride that section for 5 or 6 days, learn the whole thing, and work on the final section, which is Guthrie's Memorial back to Governor's Dip for pretty much the whole mountain section. So then I'll ride that and learn it, and then I'll be able to do all 4 of them in order, and we'll see if I can learn the entire course. That would be very, very cool. But let's start loading this up, because they do take a decent amount of time to load, which is kind of unfortunate. One of the things I might end up doing with these mods is cutting out some of the unnecessary textures and trees and stuff like that, just so that it doesn't take as long to load, because I would love to just be able to run these in order relatively seamlessly. You'll have to quit and join in between every single one, but the faster that can happen, the better. Let's check our settings real quick. We'll pump this down to 34.4. Gonna be going pretty long today, so we'll just fill our gas tank all the way up. And go down the rear. Good on all that. Okay. I've been searching for a gremlin in my KLR over the last couple weeks, trying to get it to run it. It's been starting, but it's only been running for like 5 seconds, maybe a little bit longer, and then it'll just die. And there's been like 6 different things that I've tried. None of them have worked. And today I just cleaned out the carburetor for it, gave it a total clean, and I saw that there was so in your fuel mixture screw in the KLR carburetor, there's a rubber O-ring that goes in first on top of the screw, and then there's a little washer, and then there's a spring underneath the washer. And when I was taking it apart, I found that there were 2 washers between the spring and the rubber O-ring. So that was kind of weird, but I put it back together correctly, and now it seats almost perfectly. So hopefully that was my issue. I'm gonna put it back in tomorrow. Gonna dump the old gas in there. It's not too old, but you know, I'm trying everything at this point. I just don't want to have to rebuild it. Hoping it's not like a compression issue or something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna put the carburetor back in tomorrow. Put some new gas in there. What else was I gonna do? I was gonna check the spark plug, make sure it's not like flooded or something like that. So yeah, hopefully that starts up tomorrow. That'd be nice. I haven't ridden in real life in a good while. But let's get going, folks. Let's get on this ride. We're going pretty slow. We're gonna be sticking to the left lane and just getting our wits about us for this section from Sarah's Cottage, technically Glen Helen, over to Ballaugh Bridge. So gonna be going slow, just observing the corners, trying to remember as much as we can, and we'll be doing that for the next 2 or 3 days probably. But let's get going. think this is the longest straightaway in the section here. Could probably get up to 4th or 5th gear if I really wanted to. I also know far fewer of the names of the corners in this section. I know there's Ren Cullen, which is a jump, kind of halfway through this section. But that honestly might be about it. I don't know any of the corner names here. Well, there's Michael coming up here. This is a long straight too. Oh no, this is Barragero. Yeah, I do know Barragero. Barragero looks much different in VR than it does in 2D games. In 2D games, it's really hard to judge Barragero, and then the first time I played it in VR, I was just very struck by how much of a downhill it actually is, and you can really much better judge the distance and the amount of turn that you have to do. Is this Michael coming up here? I think it is, yes. I think this is Ren Cullen right here. That's a jump if you take it at speed. That's a big jump. here we are at Ballaugh Bridge. So that is all this section is. It's a shorter one. I want to say it's like 12 kilometers end to end. The first section that I did from Governor's Dip to Sarah's Cottage, that's 17 kilometers, so this is about a third of that distance. Let's see if I can do a U-turn here. If I drop the bike, oh yeah, if I drop the bike at a slow speed, I don't count it in this series. That's just a drop, whatever. But yeah, this is a much shorter section, so theoretically it should be a little quicker to learn, but we'll see. Oh my goodness, what was that? I'm not counting that either. That was a weird texture. Let's check that out. Yeah, that sort of pops out like that. Let's look at it from the other side. Ah, that's an invisible texture. Yeah. At least from this direction. See this? Ready? Boom. That's a bit of a problem. I wonder if I can fix that in Blender. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's not counted. Good to know, though. Very good to know. So just after those things end, it's invisible right there. Alright. Let us continue. There's an invisible texture like that on the A7000, if any of you guys know that track. I think it's called Montes de Malaga in the track list. It's a very, very fun track. A mountain road. I forget exactly where, maybe, yeah, I don't know what country it's in, but it's an awesome, awesome mod, very beautiful, and there's an invisible texture in it that you can just slam into. It goes like a quarter of the way across the road. It's kind of funny. Another interesting thing about this section, I was just play testing it right before I started the stream, and there are some bits of the track that are very unsmooth. Like, you could sort of tell if it's going on like a smooth downhill on the 3D model. When you ride over it, it's like it's got a few kinks in it. And it's kind of interesting just because you don't really feel that when you're doing the full track, because there's so much shaking in it anyway. You don't really feel how uneven the road surface is. So I wonder, I don't think this track was like made from LiDAR or anything like that. I don't think the bumps are actually one-to-one with real life, but still kind of interesting. That corner comes out of nowhere. My goodness. There are some really tight corners here that are very surprising. That was one of them, and I think there's one coming up. Excuse me. Was that Barragero back there? I think. See, there was a little bump right there. I wonder if it was associated with like a sewer grate or something like that. We'll see. I'm gonna try to map out all those little bumps. Be aware of them. One kind of cool thing about this game, while I was playtesting this before I came on stream, I tried to do a U-turn by just sort of driving over the curb on my left here, and you go into the curb and your bike just falls over. So unlike the TT Isle of Man 3 game, where the curbs are more so just annoyances that you can just totally mob over if you really want to. This game is much less forgiving and will wipe you out if you touch that curb. So I kind of like that. Much more realistic. And I think we're heading back into Sarah's cottage right here. Yes, indeed. Alright, so that is the section. I'm gonna do a U-turn where I can, right here. I might stop at these red signs right here and just get acquainted with the names of the corners on the way. I think there's one on the right coming up here. No. Here's a road sign. Let's see what this place is called. This is the 11th milestone right here. This little chicane. So just under a third of the way done with the whole track right here. This one is Handley's right up here. Handley's is this like really sketchy wall right there. Good to know. Here's another one coming up here. What's this? And this is Ballaugh right here. Okay. So Ballaugh is this little church place right next to that little shortcut up the mountain. Oh, this is Ballaugh. Okay. Spelled differently, I think. I don't know if there's an E in it. Gyro. Here's another one. So after Ballaugh, we got the 13th milestone. 13th milestone seems to be a little bit of a chicane going down into this slightly sketchy turn right here. This one's worse coming from the other direction. So that's the 13th milestone. I wonder where McGinnis's corner is. I think it's around this section. So from the 13th milestone, we go right into Kirkmichael. And I think this whole section is just sort of called Kirkmichael. I don't think there's individual names for the corners or straights here. And I think this area is called something. What is it? This is Rencullen. This is Rencullen right here. What's this? Yep, Rencullen. Goodness me. Rencullen 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this all leads into this jump right up here, which I also think is part of Rencullen. This is a jump. Excuse me. what's this one? This is Alpine up here. I think this is where, oh man, I think this is where Paul, what was his name? Paul Ruiz Torres or something like that? It was a guy who died on one of the Super Twin races in 2023. And I think this is the section that he did die in. Alpine. And here we've got, this is Ballaugh Bridge. Okay, so that's the whole thing. So I think it was, what was the name of that wall? I forget the name of the wall, but, there was that wall, there was the 11th milestone, there was Ballaugh, but I think there was a section right before Ballaugh, and there was the 13th milestone, then right into Kirkmichael, then Rencullen, 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the jump, and then there was a little bit of a gap from Rencullen until Alpine, so I bet there's other names of corners that I could learn in there if I wanted to. This is the Rencullen jump right here. We go from Rencullen into Michael. Then Michael to the 13th milestone up here, followed by Ballaugh. I'm trying to remember the name of that big wall. Totally forget it. Yeah, that corner sneaks up on you. Gyro here. That corner kind of sneaks up on you if you're not already braking for it before you can see it. I think that one corner at the 13th milestone is really the only one that comes out and surprises you on this section, at least going backwards. Yeah, what's the name of this section? I totally forget. I think this is the sign for it up here. Handleys. This one's called Handleys. Okay. So 11th milestone into Handleys, which is that big wall. Handleys into Ballaugh, 13th milestone, Michael, Ren Cohen, Alpine. And then there's this whole section right here, which doesn't have a sign. This corner might sneak up on you if you go over that hill too fast. This one too. And we're back at Sarah's Cottage. Alright, I've decently learned the names of all that. Now I'm gonna run it at somewhat high speed. Not very high speed, but we'll go 60-70% going down it. So there's the long straight, and then how far after that long straight is Handleys? That's what I'm wondering. There's a couple slight right-handers with a small straight in the middle. 11th milestone with this chicane here, and then Handleys is coming up pretty soon after this, I think. Is this Handleys? It is. Okay, cool. So after those two slight straights with two slight right-handers in there, there's the 11th milestone, which is that chicane, and then pretty soon after that is Handleys right there. Then I think we're going into Ballaugh coming up here. No, we got another little straight in the middle. And here's Ballaugh. that's that's crazy right there. People hit that at like, I don't know, 4th gear, 5th gear. Oh my goodness. This turn kind of sneaks up on you. Yeah, it definitely would if you're going fast. And then here's 13th milestone. It's a double apex. And then we're going into Michael, I want to say. Then we got Ren Cullen coming up. This corner in particular, this one right here, this is really fun when you're going at speed. It has a really good flow to it. And then the jump. Alpine coming up here, and then Ballaugh right after Alpine. And I don't know if this section right here is named anything. But no huge surprises going in this direction as far as blind tight corners go, other than that one that was right after that hill. That one would definitely catch you out if you're going fast. Let's do a little jump here. Okay. Alright, so we're looking out for the 13th milestone, and it's going to be just after Michael. So after the straight, right after Michael, then there should be a very tight surprise corner. But other than that, I don't think I need to be too cautious. This one could catch you out. So right after the jump in Ren Cullen, that one could be a bit of a surprise. Alright, so right after this straight, there's a surprise corner. Yeah, right up here. This one's kind of tight. This one, so that would surprise you. So right after the straight leading up to Gyro, after the hill, that one's a surprise corner. Handleys. Alright, so on the way, in the other direction, I'm going to be paying attention for that turn that happens just after like a hill, and it's very, very blind and pretty sharp. I don't know exactly where on the track it is, so I'm going to be paying attention for that. So we got a small straight here, followed by a slight left, and then a longer straight. Yep. Then we're into Sarah's Cottage. I feel like my handlebars are slightly crooked. They were a little bit kinked off to the left there. Ugh. Alright, so on the way back, we're looking out for that tight turn after the hill. What else? What else was kind of surprising? I'm not really remembering. We're going to be pretty careful still. This is the sketchy corner right here. Okay, so I think that's the 13th milestone. Yeah. Alright, so the 13th milestone in both directions is really sketchy. This corner right here is sketchy in reverse. That corner back there is sketchy going forward. Interesting. Okay. This little kink in the road is sketchy going in reverse. I think at speed, that corner, that last corner right there might be a little sketchy. But that's really it. The only one to watch out for, at least at the speed that I'm going right now, is that one at the 13th milestone. Are my handlebars kinked again? They are. Why is it doing that? Look at this. Ready? It was like turned to the right a good bit. Last time it was doing that, it was because Steam updated automatically, and I had to turn it on to beta mode in order to fix that bug where it like recenters your gyro. I don't know. I'm gonna look into that a little bit. So that's not what you want. Alright, so right after the Bren Cullen jump, which is coming up here, I think. No, not yet. Is this one going? It is, okay. Yeah, right after here there's a little kink in the road. That is kind of sketch. Right there. Yeah, this one could really cut you out. I'm gonna need to learn exactly how that hill is structured before I start going fast on it. I think there's like 2 crests, and then right after that you really gotta be on the brakes. Is this Ballaugh coming up here? It is. This one can catch you out right at the top of Ballaugh. Right after this, I think we have our long straights, maybe? Or we got the 11th milestone, so there's a chicane with 2 double apexes, and then we've got the 2 straights. Here's 1 double apex, and then a double apex left-hander. 1, 2, then we have a small straight with a little left-hand turn up here, followed by a large straight, and then I think I don't know exactly what's right after that. I thought there was more straight there. I was going a little bit too fast for that. So there's just a few like weird turns right here before we get into Sarah's Cottage. So I'm gonna need to memorize those, and I'm gonna need to memorize the hills on that long straight right there. I don't want to take that fast again. Alright, so let's see, once we get out of the forest, exactly what turns happen in what order. So we've got the chicane here, and we've got a right turn, left turn, very slight, just a chicane. And we've got a slight straight with the hill, followed by a left turn with that wall right there, double apex right, with a slight right, and then we're into this. And there's a hill, another hill, slight right with a slightly shorter straightaway here, just a single dip in the middle of it. Then we have a double apex right, followed by a double apex left. Then we're coming up on Handleys, I want to say, up here, followed by a slight left kink. And then we're setting up for Gyro. How does this little section go? There's a slight left, slight right, left. Oh, not yet. So left, right, left, into this little straightaway here, and this one's kind of flat. The right-hander. Little chicane into Gyro. Okay. So following handleys, it's left, right, left with that shorter straight, followed by a slight chicane into Gyro. And we got Gyro with the straight. Slight left. Into the 13th milestone with that sketchy corner after a very short straightaway. And we're going into Michael. Then we've got Run Cullen, which pretty much starts with that cool flowing corner, and then I don't really remember the structure of it after that. I think there's a few sweeping left-handers maybe. So here's that cool corner. Sweeping right-hander. Down into this little bit. Sweeping left. Right into the jump. Okay, so it's pretty much just a sweeping chicane into the jump after that cool flowing corner. And we've got a right-hander. And then this whole section is a mystery to me. I think this is Alpine right here. This is all a mystery. I have no idea what's coming up next. And this is Alpine, okay. So that whole section, right after the Ren Cullen jump into Alpine, that's a total mystery to me. I have no idea what's going on there. Watch out for the invisible wall right here. There's no real surprise corners though in this section, which is kind of nice. The only two, I think there are only two that I have to watch out for going in reverse, and it's the one at the start of the 13th milestone section, and right after Gyro, there's that right-hander after the hill. Oh, and then after that long straight. right after the hill there's a left-hander that I was going too fast for last time. Alright, so we're still in the mystery section here. And then I think this is the right column jump up here. Indeed. Alright, so there's a weird kink right here. Into Michael. Alright, so let's see what this straight is like. So we've got a crest of the hill coming up right here. Then we have a second crest right here. And a third crest right there. And then you're pretty much at the corner. And those second two crests are very close together. So they could pretty much be considered one. So you probably want to start braking right before you get to the second crest. Coming up on Gyro. And then we want to look out for a tight right-hander at the top of this hill up here. Right here. Then I think there's a chicane right up here which leads into Handley's, and then from Handley's we have another chicane that goes into those straightaways, I think. Am I wrong about that? Yeah, here's Handley's, cool. Alright, so is there another chicane right here? Yeah, this might be the double apex chicane for both directions. Indeed. We've got our straightaways, so after this hill there's a left-hand turn, followed by a long straight, and then we've got this hill in the middle, and then we want to be very careful heading up to this second hill because there's the left-hander right after. Really remember these corners very well here. I'm gonna see how long I've been streaming and if I've been going anything under maybe like an hour and 15 minutes, I'll keep going. But if not, I am starting to get a little bit tired. Let's see. An hour and 15 minutes exactly. I think that is a good sign to end the stream. So that's pretty good. We learned what the sections are called in this sector, and got a decent idea of some of the turns in between. I still need to learn the exact corners between Sarah's Cottage and those long straightaways. Oh, excuse me. And I need to learn everything after Run Cullen leading up to Ballaugh. So that'll be happening over the next day or two, and then we'll be able to start going a little bit faster. And then hopefully in 3 or 4 days I'll have the next section from Ballaugh Bridge over to Guthrie's Memorial finished, and I'll be able to start doing that on stream and learning that one. So please leave a like, please subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow.